What's up guys, today's video I am gonna do a detailed review and pick the top 5 best laptops for students under 500 2022. After doing proper researches, we came to the conclusion that meets the best in terms of overall. Kindly leave a like if you find this helpful, and I'd appreciate if you subscribe to my channel and turn on post notifications if you haven't. We will be also providing affiliates link to purchase from Amazon. Kindly use to for best offers and purchase from anywhere in the world. We'll be back with more videos. The display looks massive, mostly due to the slim bezels on 3 of its sides. The ones on the left and right are just 5.7mm thick, while the one on the top is a little thicker so it can accommodate the webcam. The bottom bezel is much wider, but you don't see most of it since the clever hinge mechanism hides the bottom portion of the lid, behind the laptop's body. This also lifts the bottom of the laptop up by 2 degrees, which offers a better ergonomic typing position. The 14-inch display on the Asus VivoBook 14 has a full HD resolution and a 16:9 aspect ratio. The panel doesn't have the best viewing angles, and colors look a little muted due to the narrow 45% coverage of the NTSC color spectrum. It's a 60Hz panel and you get a matte, anti-glare coating, which is helpful when working under a lot of artificial lighting. The keyboard area is a single piece of plastic and there isn't any flex in the keyboard even with rigorous typing. The keys have comfortable travel, are well spaced, and have 3 levels of backlighting. The size of the trackpad is fairly generous and tracking is smooth. You get a fingerprint sensor in the top right corner of the trackpad, which worked well for us. The Asus VivoBook 14 offers a decent selection of ports for a 14-inch laptop. You get 2 full-sized USB ports, one USB 2.0 and a second USB 3.1 Gen 1, a USB Type-C port. The IdeaPad 3 comes with a compact 14-inch display running at a resolution of 1920 by 1080 pixels, and it's a reasonably bright and crisp screen. The bezels around the display are thicker than you'll find on the very best laptops out there, and the viewing angles and maximum brightness aren't particularly top-notch. But this is a laptop that you need to judge in relation to its price, and for the money it costs we were very satisfied. We was fitted with 4GB of RAM and 128GB of SSD internal storage. You wouldn't really want to try and run Windows 10 on anything less, but again you can get by with this sort of spec. We tried some web browsing, some emailing, and some media playing on the Lenovo IdeaPad 3, and everything moved along at a fair clip. If you really try and overload the laptop with a lot of browser tabs or a lot of open applications you might run into problems, however. It is worth noting that the Lenovo IdeaPad 3 stayed nice and quiet during our time with it, with the fans only spinning up occasionally when the laptop was put under pressure. Note that the computer comes with the restricted Windows 10 mode enabled. You can switch to Windows 10 proper for free in about a minute, but you do lose some benefits in terms of performance and security. In general, we found the IdeaPad 3 ran applications and websites smoothly and well. The integrated Dolby audio system isn't going to win any awards anytime soon, but it's better than you might expect for a laptop at this price, and it's more than adequate for some quick bursts of music or for the dialogue and audio accompanying movies and TV shows. We had no complaints with the Lenovo IdeaPad 3 as a media player. We were seeing battery life of 3 to 4 hours with standard, undemanding use, that's with the screen set on maximum brightness. So if you're happy to dim it a little you'll get more time between charges. This isn't a laptop that's going to last a whole day away from a power socket, but it'll be fine for a train journey or an afternoon at a coffee shop. Other laptops will get you much more battery life of course, but they'll cost you more too. The Acer Aspire 5 feels like a refuge from circa 2015. The slightly dated design is notable chiefly for big, fat bezels top and bottom of the 14-inch display. That said, slim side bezels at least ensure fairly compact overall proportions. At 1.7 kilograms and 17mm thick, portability is decent and is aided by the compact 45 watts power supply. If you want something more stylish, head to our Asus VivoBook 15 versus Acer Aspire 5 comparison. The Asus is a slicker looking laptop for a similar price, but there are compromises elsewhere. It's worth noting the power supply uses an old-school barrel connector. The Aspire 5 does have USB Type-C connectivity, but only for data. You can't charge it via USB-C, more's the pity. Still, one fringe benefit of the relative bezel bulge is plenty of space up top for proper webcam location. Your zoom accomplices won't have to suffer the up-nose angle that blights some slim bezel laptops, at least. Another design throwback is the somewhat stingy plastic trackpad. If you've tried one of the modern style larger glass top trackpads, it's awfully hard to revert. The Acer's trackpad feels constrained, limiting and a little cheap by comparison. Still, it's reasonably solid, which is a sentiment that applies more broadly to the Acer Aspire 5. With its metal keyboard surround and screen enclosure, it feels ready to take a beating. The only exception is the keyboard. The bed is prone to a bit of bounce. The screen hinge is likewise robust, if anything it's a bit too stiff. Try to lift the Aspire 5's screen lid single-handedly and the entire chassis comes along for the ride. Bummer. As for ports and connectivity, on the right-hand side of the chassis you'll discover a plain old USB Type-A 2.0 socket and a headphone jack. On the left there's HDMI, a pair of 5 gigabits per second USB 3.1 ports, plus a USB Type-C connector, again running at 5 gigabits per second. The only conspicuous omission is an SD card reader. Audio-wise, the Acer Aspire 5 is configured with a pair of bottom-firing stereo speakers at the front of the chassis. In terms of clarity and soundstage imaging, they're not actually all that bad. But the total absence of anything akin to bass and also very little by way of mid-range results in a very thin overall audio experience. The HP Pavilion X360 Convertible 14, DW0097NR, is a competent convertible laptop for handling the day-to-day workload of a work-from-home or distance learning experience. It also offers some unique features, including a rare cellular option and a full-sized SD card slot. The USB-C and HDMI ports allow for 2 additional displays, including 4K support. While these attributes work in the Pavilion X360's favor, its middling performance and underwhelming battery life make other laptops we've tested in its price range seem like a better deal. HP's Pavilion X360 14 emerges from its box a bit on the heavy side, though that'd only be an issue if you actually traveled with it. Our review unit boasts the rather generic natural silver exterior. A narrow band of silver runs around the edge of the dark ash silver keyboard deck. Because the Pavilion is a 360-degree convertible, it flips smoothly from clamshell back into tent mode, supporting its own weight. During a year when we've been stuck inside most of the time, I've grown to appreciate laptops that can serve as portable entertainment centers during off hours. Above the keyboard lies an unobtrusive grille from which the Pavilion X360 14 vents its warm air. The laptop puts out a steady whoosh of fan noise, even occasionally during routine tasks such as typing this review. It's both soft and fairly constant enough, however, to fade into the background as white noise. HP's display is passable, a common quality level among lower-priced laptops. Its backlight has a top brightness of about 250 nits, the bare minimum for what we consider to be sufficient for indoor work. My downstairs office gets minimal outside light, and I found the display to be just slightly on the dim side. Color fidelity seemed adequate, however, with sufficient viewing angles from either side. Just don't expect to use it outdoors. At this price point, a laptop's aesthetics should be a bonus, not part and parcel of the experience. No one can help but notice, though, the wide lower display bezel of about 1.5 inches. Though the side, 1/4 inch, and the top, 3/8 of an inch, bezels are slimmer, the overall effect is that the display feels a bit cramped. Fortunately, the available ports adorning the HP Pavilion X360 Convertible 14 make it easy to expand beyond the built-in display. HP includes both an HDMI 2.0 as well as super speed 10 gigabits per second, formerly known as USB-C 3.2 Gen 2. Unfortunately, though the HDMI 2.0 cable supports a single 4K monitor at up to 60 Hz, the Core i5-1035G1 couldn't manage to push my external 4K display beyond 30 Hz. For those with sensitive eyes, the slow refresh rate can look jarring. Anything with motion, video, for example, can look jerky and, over time, can fatigue your eyes. Even typing on an otherwise static screen can be wearing. This problem, however, completely goes away if you have an external 1080p monitor, which the Pavilion X360 14 powers at a comfortable 60 Hz. The Asus TUF gaming lineup of laptops have always included good mid-range components for gaming on the go, and this year's model improves on the formula with even more powerful graphics components. The TUF Gaming F15 laptop refresh of 2021 now comes with the latest 11th Gen Intel Core CPUs, armed with an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 that should be more than enough to power its 1080p screen with a high refresh rate. The new laptop also gets an update to its design and chassis, all of which helps in distinguishing itself from gaming laptops of the past. The TUF F15 shakes up its design with a new style that leaves behind the more gamer-centric aesthetics that plagued the entire gaming laptop landscape in the past few years. The laptop is well balanced, with its keyboard being comfortable to type on. It's nothing that compares to that in my MacBook Air, but I was happy enough to write more than half of this review on it as far as gaming laptops go. The trackpad is also quite serviceable, although the lack of capacitive touch did throw me in for a loop, as it instead uses two physical buttons at the bottom. As such, dragging and dropping items using just the touchpad didn't work half of the time. The laptop's 1080p display is well suited to the internals powering it, with our panel's 144Hz refresh rate compensating for the lack of color depth. The display is also a tad bit too smooth looking to my eyes, with colors looking flat, especially when watching movies. It also never got bright enough for comfortable use, even with the wall adapter plugged in, which does help a little bit. That's where the I/O ports can come in handy, with HDMI and even Thunderbolt 4.0 to expand your screen estate. Our Asus TUF F15 came with an 8-core/16-thread Intel Core i9-11900H, 16GB of RAM and an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060, all of which are powerful enough for the 144Hz 1080p display.